Welcome to Rpgibberish. And it's that time of year, RPG fans. Yes, it is Tokyo Game Show 2012.
Woo!
Yes, and that woo you heard came from one Shintai, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, Shintai.
Thank you for having me, my friend.
Anytime. Anytime. Now, I like to be honest with our recordings, you know. I don't know if it's unprofessional or not, but Shintai and I just recorded a very long conversation before, which was supposed to be the initial recording, and it got corrupted.
Yeah, unfortunately so.
So Shintai is here to save the day, and he's recording the podcast, well, the first segment of the podcast so far, so I really appreciate Shintai coming to save the day.
Hey, what can I say? I just come in, swoop in, and sweep everyone off their feet.
Yes. Rpgibberish, the podcast that sweeps you off your feet. So everyone, wear your gravity-defying boots. You know, don't want our listeners to listen to Rpgibberish while they're like stuck to the ceiling. Anyway, we've got that out of the way. The first segment we're going to talk about today is the news surrounding Yakuza 5. Yakuza 5 got two wonderful trailers at TGS, and I thought I couldn't consider anyone else who loves the Yakuza series more than Shintai, ladies and gentlemen. We're both big fans of the Yakuza series, and we have constant discussions about what happens and what's going to happen. And I got to say, I love the trailers for 5.
Definitely.
So good. And just seeing the gameplay emotion is just, you know, because previous to this, we just had screenshots. And I kind of got an idea how it would plan out, and I was kind of right, but it was so good to finally see the game in motion, and I'm really, really, really interested. But before that, I want to talk about something else before we talk about Yakuza 5, and that's Yakuza HD Edition 1 and 2.
Yeah. Can't wait.
Can't wait. I seriously, it was so funny seeing these games get HD editions, thinking this was just going to be a one-off fad, but it's really taken off, and there's so many reasons for that. You know, being the technical upgrade or the technical polish, and of course the biggest one being able to play these games on your PS3, whether you miss them the first time around or you just want to, you know, upgrade, as so to speak. But I'm really glad that they've considered Yakuza 1 and 2, and it's been on my list of games that I'd like to see on a HD collection. I didn't think they have a chance, but they did, and I'm really excited. Shintai, what do you think?
I love HD collections. I have a few of them myself. I have the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus collection, I have the Metal Gear Solid collection, and I have the Devil May Cry HD collection. And I'm really looking forward to the Yakuza HD collection because I love Yakuza's 1 and 2, but on the PS2, I could tell that they were great looking games, but it really did feel like they were just held back by the limitations of the PS2, because even though I was playing them on my PS3, which was backwards compatible and upscaled the games to fit on HD TV, it still looked blurry, it still didn't quite look up to snuff. And the videos that I saw, which were humorously commented by, had commentary, by the voice actors themselves, which was awesome.
I love those videos, seeing the Shiryu for Kazuma and Majima, and they were kind of giving each other crap. I assume there was, I think it was the battle between Kazuma and Majima, and one of the guys was actually cheering Majima on. I said you would, and I think that was awesome.
Definitely.
So I like it when companies go that extra step to promote their games in a different way, and fans will eat that up like candy. It's like, oh, that's so cool, you know, and it hypes them up for the game because you can't think of anything negative because you're only seeing something that makes you happy.
Right. And it's so cool because seeing the guy who does Kazuma's voice, I was like, it kind of looks like him.
Yeah. I've noticed his voice now in a lot of anime series that I watch. So I definitely think he's one of the more popular series in Japan now. I think he knows he's very fortunate to have a great character like Kazuma Kiryu. I kind of get that same feeling that that same connection with David Hayata and Solid Snake I do with him and Kazuma Kiryu.
Yeah, they kind of have like this strong bond.
Yeah, absolutely. But, one thing I said before, the game looks great in HD, and they did some comparison shots. Some of the signs for shops are vastly clearer. Like,
yes,
they did them scratch for the HD edition.
It looks simply gorgeous in the HD collection. The game looks so much cleaner and crisper, and the games themselves are fantastic. So the HD collections are just, delicious icing on already, delicious cake.
And of course, a delicious cake to eat if you haven't eaten it before. So
yeah.
Hopefully, this is the thing I want to talk about as well, is localization. Now, it's no surprise, everyone knows this, Sega's infrastructure is not as it once was. The company has taken massive hits financially, and they've gone to the part that they've closed down so many offices around the world, and even their factories where they produce hard copies, because their main focus is getting digital versions on PSN. Now, the thing is a lot of fans have been asking, they want a hard copy, but Sega's pretty much say, have your expectations in check, because, the game may not even come out. So people have been going, would they consider doing it on PSN? Whether they have a third party involved to release a hard copy. For me, honestly, if I want to play them again, I'd be more than happy just to have a downloadable digital copy, and then I'll probably just import the Japanese version and hard copy. If we get the hard copy, great, it's a great plus, but I'm not going to be too disappointed. I'd be disappointed if we didn't get the game at all. But at the same token, I've played both games already. I've been very fortunate enough to experience them. If, in all honesty, I just want other people to have a go at the game. So hopefully Sega considers this.
Yeah, I mean, hard copy of the HD version would be ideal, but we shouldn't ask what isn't possible, or at least what, is unlikely. So we should be happy if we at least get digital versions. And I'm honestly, I really do want to play these games again, because they're great games, and I really want other people to play them as well, because after they released 3 and 4, that really raised a lot of awareness to the series, and it's not everyone has a PS2, or not everyone has, or even if they do, can pick up 1 and 2, because they're harder to find depending on where you live. And honestly, it would do a lot of good for the series, I think, if they would release it on PSN.
Yeah, I've mentioned this before. I still think people that's come on board with Yakuza 3 and 4 needs to see how Kazuma became the Dragon of Dojima. In 1 and 2, especially 1. It's his origin story, and it's so phenomenally told well. And you wonder why people people just so awe, they fear him, they revere him. You wonder why that is. And if you haven't played 1 yet, but at the same token, to those same people that would be interested, they've probably already seen the movies that come with 3 and 4.
Yeah, but it's not the same as playing the game.
It's not the same. I mean, that's well and good back then, because there was no thought to ever be a 1 and 2 copy, but now they're considering it, and I can say it's now, playing the game in its entirety is always going to be better than just watching a bunch of cutscenes.
Right.
This has been true for everyone I've watched. I've watched Shenmue the movie on the Xbox copy of Shenmue 2. All that made me want to do is play the game. Same with Xenosaga Episode 1. We didn't get Xenosaga Episode 1 here, but when 2 came out, we got a 5-hour movie version of 1.
5 hour? Holy shit.
All that made me want to do is play the game. But I didn't think I was going to, so I'd happily watch that and just went straight on to 2, but I still felt like I was missing something. So it'd be just better if we get 1 and 2. And The thing about HD collections is depending on who's in charge, they can just make a straight polish and port, as I call it, or they can take the time to flesh out and have a proper release, like Metal Gear Solid HD collection. That was phenomenal. They made, I assume they made all games from scratch, but Peace Walker stands out.
Oh yes.
I've been the PSP version, and when I went to play the PS3 version, I just noticed the difference, and it was so good. So if it's of the same quality, then we're in for a treat with the Yakuza HD 1 and 2 edition.
Yeah, that was made by Blue Point, who also handled the Ico and Shadow of the Colossus HD collection.
So I'm really looking forward to how this happens. Guys, listeners, tell us what you think, and if you are interested in playing Yakuza 1 and 2 on the PS3 in HD, let Sega know. Send them messages on Twitter or Facebook or on their forums. Let them know that you are considering buying this. You know, the more people that they hear want it, the more they'll consider it. So with that in mind, I'm excited. And now, time for the juicy discussion of Yakuza 5. And I've got to say, I've been following the game since it was announced, and there's been screenshots and bits of information. So to finally see not one, but 2 trailers shown at TGS it really is a treat. And I know that Sega is big on making these big 10 to 12 minute trailers. But it was nice that they split it up into 2 sort of bite-sized, not bite-sized, but 4-minute trailers. And I really enjoyed watching both of them. But we've got some issues, not major, but we've got one major issue I want to talk about. But before that, I want to begin talking about the battle system. It looks great. They promised they would have a major revamp of the battle system. Now, from what I've seen from the trailer, it's not too much of a revamp. It's more like a polish, like a major polish. Kind of like transition from Yakuza 2 to 3, you know, it's got the HD visuals and more seamless into combat, more like you can do. It seems to me like it's another transition, but it's not a revamp. It's just a nice polish. What makes it set apart is the battles are more seamless. The transition from just roaming the street into a street battle is mere seconds. It's just fantastic. The character and enemy AI is much more fluid, much worked out, more realistic in how they go about the battle. And that's what was mentioned, and for what I've seen of the trailer, it looks to be the case. I mean, one of the cool parts of the trailer I liked is Saejima Tiger grabs someone from the ankle and spun him around like a sling, like smacking enemies around. Really enjoyed that. And it looked realistic how the body was flapping in the air and where he grabbed by the ankle and people trying to move, getting out of the way. I really liked it. So, yeah, I have high hopes. But like I said before, I didn't think it was too much of a revamp, like a nice polish. Yeah. Shintai, what do you think about the battle system?
I always really liked the battle system in this series. I mean, it's a lot of fun. You're basically running around, punching people in the face, kicking them, curb stomping them, smashing their face in the wall, all this awesome, great, fun stuff. And, you know, the series' gameplay, I felt, has always evolved little by each game, but it's always felt like the same combat system. Now, after they made 4, Sega, at the very least, gave us the impression that this was going to be a revamp. This was going to be a totally new battle system. And this does not look like a revamp at all. It looks exactly the same. It does look better, don't get me wrong. It does look like a more improved battle system, but it's the same battle system, at least from what we can see. Maybe when we actually play the games, we'll notice more changes, and it will feel more of a revamp when we actually play it. But judging from what I've actually seen from the footage, nothing about it really screams, this is a revamp. Not that that's a bad thing, because I really like the battle system. But, yeah. But, you know, not quite what I felt was promised. Or at least implied.
No, that's right. I don't know if it was mistranslation from the fans or from whoever wrote the article. But like I said, I love the battle system. You know, that mix of the beat 'em up, but having the XP and the gold, which is actually yen, which I loved. It was a nice little charm being set in Japan and in Tokyo, Kamurocho. It's only fair you get yen. I always like the fact that beating up thugs and stealing their yen, which is probably their booze money or something.
I remember I was playing Yakuza and I was in a chat room or something, and I didn't like realize that I was telling them that I was playing a video game, and I told them like, oh, I just beat someone up and he gave me like $20, and they were like, what? It's like, why would he give you money after you beat him up? I was like, because it's a game. It's like, oh.
How to take that.
And they just said like, I just imagined you like just going up to someone and just kicking the shit out of them, and then they just gave you money.
Don't hurt me. It's $5. Boom. I extra dollar.
It's like, here, just go away.
Yeah, so I'm really interested. Actually, one thing they didn't talk about, and I'm going to be interested in this now, is the enhancement system, because that drastically changed in Yakuza 4. Are they going to use the same, or are they going to do something different? Because as long as you get experience points from beating enemies, that's awesome. You know, that's the major RPG element of Yakuza.
Right.
So I hope that continues, and you get yen. You know, one thing I'd like to see is more methods to gain EXP. And then the other method, of course, is doing side quests, and that's the main bulk of getting EXP. And that's why I love side quests, because nearly every side quest I did, it'd either go halfway through a level or you would instantly level up. And that's what I did. That's the main reason to do side quests, and of course to enjoy the colorful characters and see what the life of Kamurocho is like, or wherever it's set.
Now, the level up system in 1 through 3 was very much the same, where you would have 3, except in 3 they actually added another one, so it was 4, different bars, and each one represented like different things. Like one was tech, one was skill, and I think the other one was will or technique or something like that. And when you would level it up all the way, you would learn different moves, or you would enhance your health bar, or your heat meter, different things like that. The way it was changed in 4 was, since we now have 4 characters to play as, they made it so that whenever you level up, you always level up your health, and sometimes your heat meter will go up naturally as well, and you would get 3 skill points. And you could use these skill points to learn different techniques. These different techniques sometimes cost only 1, 2, 3, and very rarely 4. And I think it worked well for 4 because the difference being was that you were playing as 4 different characters. So I thought that it made sense. You leveled up much more quickly in 4 because you were playing as multiple characters, and each character had their own character arc, and in the character arc, it lasted only a certain amount of time, and then you would switch to a different character until at the end of the game where all the characters come together. So I thought it worked really well for that, and I'm wondering, like, are they going to stick with that in 5? Because it seems in 5 they're also going to have new characters, or some old characters as well. And it looks like it's going to work in a similar way, where some of the characters are going to have like certain arcs throughout the game, and maybe they'll come together at the end, or maybe you'll be jumping back and forth throughout the story. Because in 4 it was, okay, this like quarter of the game you're playing as Akiyama, then you're going to play Taiga, and then you're going to play this other guy, and then at the end all of them come together. Maybe in 5 it'll be a little different. Maybe you will actually be like, okay, now you're playing as this guy, then you're playing as that guy, and then you're playing as him again, and then you play as a new character. Who knows? We'll see what happens.
Poor Tanimura gives no love. It's not Shintai. Everyone I know forgets Tanimura. It's like, why? Because he's a cop? I actually really like Tanimura's character.
I didn't dislike his character, but I felt that he was the weakest.
Anyway, yeah, so very interested to see how this battle system comes out. But besides just beating heads in, there is another type of battle system in Yakuza 5. Now, this is where the controversy starts to happen. As I mentioned in my former Yakuza video, it was hinted that... Okay, before we get into this, the 5 characters of Yakuza 5, of course, is Kazuma Kiryu, who's become a cab driver in Fukuoka. You've got Shun Akiyama, who's become a fan favorite. He's gone around Osaka. Nothing much is kind of divulged about him. I just like the fact Akiyama has returned because I really like him. The third one is Saejima Taiga. It's funny because I thought he was the weakest character when I was basically the months leading up to Yakuza 4. When I watched the trailer, he was the one that didn't interest me the most. It just looked like a thug. Then I played the game, and wow, he surprised me. His character had so much to offer. He had so much heart. You know, it's a testament to the saying, never judge a book by his cover.
I'd say he's like a lion with a heavy heart.
Exactly. And I really like what happened to him, and he really stood out for me, and I'm glad he's back in Yakuza 5. But he's in jail again. It used to be a habit of his. I don't know if it's a thing he likes, but...
He misses the shitty food and not being able to get laid properly.
But I'm really glad he's back. And then you've got a newcomer, Shimada. I keep forgetting his first name, but Shimada is a ex-baseball player who used to throw games for money for the Yakuza, and somehow they found out he's kicked out of the league, and now he's ending up owing money to various houses.
I can only imagine the heat moves with him if you have a baseball bat in your hands.
Yeah, you saw him in the trailer, like, he's got these, you know, got the baseball and you can, like, pitch it at people, you knock it straight into their face. But, like, the dramatic, like, the baseball is spinning on the bat in all directions, and it just gathers heat and then just smack it right in their face. And then the ball's just perpetuating the poor bastard throughout the field. It's like, whoa!
Gotta love it.
It's awesome. But anyway, the 5th character is Haruka, who is Kazuma Kiryu's surrogate daughter. You know, not his daughter by blood, but, you know, ever since the events of Yakuza 1, she's in every game, and she's a very innocent and lovely character.
Yes.
And all the people, you know, everyone who's played the series has grown up with her and seen her age, you know, from her child years to her teenage years. Now, this is the problem that Sega has presented is, in Yakuza 5, she has left the orphanage to become an idol. And I'm scratching my head going, really? They've decided to go this route? Because in the previous Yakuza game, I think it was Yakuza 3, Haruka is basically nearly scammed by these people, you know, she wants to become an idol. And we're thinking, in that story, it was just a passing fancy, you know, that every girl in Japan, they probably say they want to become an idol, but then quickly get over it. Well, it doesn't. It's going to become a major feature in Yakuza 5. And no, she doesn't beat heads in, but she's got her own battle system where she has a dance-off.
Well, I'm not looking forward to the whole rhythm thing or the dancing thing, but to be honest, I would prefer to see her having a dancing minigame than to her actually beat some faces in. That to me just looks really, I don't know, that to me just, that would be very weird and unappealing. So, yeah, I'm glad they didn't go that route, but at the same time, I don't want to do any dumb mini-games with her dancing and trying to pretend to be an idol.
No, this is problem number 1. It's a rhythm game. I don't like rhythm games. It's actually widely known. I do not like Guitar Man. I do not like Power Up and the Rapper. I especially hate that mini game in Birth by Sleep. with Huey, Dewey, and Louie, I nearly lost a PSP over that. So rhythm games are not my forte, and I don't understand the appeal of them. So having number one, that's a strike, and I know why Sega has done this. Is their best sellers are anime as games based off anime and various other things. Of course, we talk about the Hatsune Miku and Koon. The reason they make Hatsune Miku games is because Japan is obsessed with Hatsune Miku and Vocaloid. Like, I can't believe how much is blown up. I mean, it gets to the point where they now pay big money to have this advanced screen where they can have a 3D model of Hatsune Miku on the stage, and hundreds of thousands of people will turn up. Like, wow, have we entered the technological age where that's the future of being an idol? But anyway, I'm getting off topic. You got Hatsune Miku and the rhythm games made by Sega, and then you got the Koon mini games. So, and they're big sellers for Sega. So I can understand that they want to get more money, they want to get more people to play Yakuza through these mini games. But at the same time, they risk alienating their established audience that just wants to beat some heads in. So I see three things happening. You know, there's going to be a new crowd coming in that loves rhythm games, that love the idol scene. They're going to take to it. They may not appreciate beating heads in, but you never know. You're going to have the old school audience that may not take this so well. And then you're going to have people that's going to accept it but morely focus on playing the game. That's where I think I fit in. As much as I hate rhythm games, I'm going to give it a try. You know, hopefully it pans out. One thing I find interesting is when you beat battles, because when you do these battles against the person, you actually have a crowd, and if you actually beat the battle, you get expression power. I'm guessing this is a form of, you know, fame and glory. And maybe you unlock new dancing moves. I don't know. But, you know, if it's a similar sort of EXP system, I guess. And, of course, the more you have, the more chance you have winning of the Princess Idol League or whatever. But to me, it seems so out of place in a Yakuza game. Even though the innocence of children, because of the whole orphanage thing, became a big part of the series with Yakuza 3. So I can understand that they want, I don't know, Sega might want to go through this through being a light-heart sort of way to deter from beating heads in. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. Now,
I just hope it's not mandatory.
No, I have a feeling it might be, but at the same time, it might be a mini game, but the same, I don't know. Who knows? We'll know when the game comes out. But the big problem I have with this is Haruka is a very innocent and respectable character, and we've grown up with her since Yakuza 1. And when they announced her to be an idol, I'm like, okay, this is okay. As long as they don't treat her like a sex object. Well, the first trailer I watched, I thought that would be the case. The next one I watched, I saw a second outfit, and I was like, oh my god, Sega, you serious? It's very skimpy, and I'm like, you know, this is what most people in Japan want from their idols, and it's not for me, that's for certain. No, I think we're talking Shintai before, and I summed it up bestly as growing up Haruka, you consider her like a little sister. You know, to Kazuma, it feels like, you know, she treats her like he's his daughter. And you don't see your sister or your daughter shaking your ass in front of thousands of people, you know?
It doesn't matter. Like, it is creepier that she's 14, but it wouldn't matter to me if she was 14 or in her 20s. It's still weird simply because of who it is. It's not the same as one of the DOA girls because you don't have the same emotional connection to the fucking DOA girls than you do with Haruka. You've gone through 4 fucking games with this girl. You've seen her grow. You've seen her as this cute, innocent little girl that, you know, that's gone through so much shit in her life. And it's, you know, you grow with her. You just develop this connection to her. Like like Swag said, like she's your little sister. So seeing her do this is just fucking weird. And I don't like it, man. I really don't. I know why Sega is doing it, because they want to appeal to that market. But if it means denigrating this character to this degree, I am just vehemently opposed to it.
Yeah, I'm opposed to it too. And like Shintai says, I don't want to say there's a double standard, but I personally think it's alright for the DOA girls to shake their ass, but not Haruka. Because, you know, everyone knows why. But anyone who's played the series will probably be in high agreement with us. You know, it's not right for Haruka to do this. And, you know, if it's just a choice of what... Because from what I've seen in the trailer, I think you can pick her outfits, which, again, is very suspect. But depending on how you treat it. Like, if there's going to be stats for these clothing, I think if you're more focused on that, then you have nothing to fear, because you're more focused on beating the game than watching her shake her ass. So I think that's what I'm going to be focused on, is more dealing with the game than that, because, you know, I don't agree with it.
I even feel uncomfortable with you just saying her shaking her ass. I'm just like, ugh.
I know, but that's exactly what people will be saying, you know. It's not right. It's not right at all. It's not right to her character. As you said before, it's very... it denigrates her character so much.
And I think it goes against her character. I mean, I think it's very out of character for her to like, pursue being an idol. I mean, she seems like a very, you know, reasonable and down-to-earth girl. And for her to actually go through with something like this, I don't know. It doesn't sound right.
I'm praying that there's something more behind the scenes towards this, that it leads into the main story. Because if it doesn't, then it's just a case of Sega just appealing to that audience.
Who knows? Maybe she's doing it because she's trying to like find information about some sort of organization for Kazuma or something. If that's the reason why, I mean, I still don't like the fact that she's doing things like that. But at the very least, it's related to the story, and it's not just because she turned like around a 180 and she's like, I don't want to be an idol, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens, but that's just the bottom of the spectrum of Yakuza 5. Is it going to deter me from playing the game? No, I'm going to play Yakuza 5. The game offers so much, and, you know, there's 4 other characters with their stories. Now, one of the coolest things I have to say about the Yakuza series is the ton of mini games that you can play, and as each entry in the series has progressed, there's been more and more different types of mini games. Well, absolutely blew my mind when I found out that there's going to be 28 mini games, and there's possibly even more than that.
The thing about the Yakuza games is that they've always been filled to the brim with mini games, and they've all been like pretty good for mini games, honestly.
Yeah, they don't treat them like just a one-off thing. They put a lot of time and effort into it. Like, if you play those pachinko machines in 4 and you see, like, you know, game footage on the screen of the pachinko machine on the screen, you're just like, wow, you know? Just, the technology is just so amazing and so believable. And, you know, it started with the basics. Like, the most basic mini game in Yakuza 1 was the batting cage. And that's been a series staple. But ever since then, it's expanded to so many different types of mini games. Now, I was very fortunate enough to actually get a list. I want to have some fun and go through the list with Shintai and talk about why this is going to be fun. So, number 1, chicken racing. Chicken racing.
Is it like betting on horse racing?
Yeah, I assume so. I'm not too sure. But yeah, you get to bet on chickens. Oh dear, at least it's not cockfighting, because I know that wouldn't make it...
Yes, yeah, they already did that in Sleeping Dogs.
Yeah. So they'd probably be the more on the good side and just have them race each other. But I reckon that's going to be hilarious, because chickens are hilarious to begin with. As long as you don't hit them in Zelda.
Oh, yes.
No, I know it's I reckon it'd be cool. Do you know who I see doing the chicken racing? Akiyama.
Man, I don't know. Actually, maybe, yeah. Now I think about it, like, he seems like a gambling kind of guy.
Well, see, it's not. Well, Akiyama's not hurting for money. It's just I think he's quite the funny type of individual that would bet on chickens. So I reckon
he's be like, oh my god, look at them chickens go.
He'd probably say, I'd probably bring back one for Hana-chan to eat. Yeah, that's what he'd say. That's not what I'd say. Anyway, number 2, a favorite game I like to play in real life whenever I can: air hockey.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That'd be awesome. It'd be very unfair playing Seijima Tiger, that I think would probably hit it so hard it'd probably go off the mat and break a wall.
It'd be even funnier if he can charge up his air hockey like he does charge his attacks.
And the heat meter, it's just like, whoa! And just the puck just disintegrates. It would be funny if you actually see a model of the arcade owner going, "Hey, what you doing? You owe me a new puck," and it automatically takes like 1,000 yen. Oh dear. The next one is Tsukomi, and I didn't know what this was, so I had to research this. And what Tsukomi is, it's stand-up comedy.
Ah.
This isn't the first game to do this. The first game I ever saw to do this was As Your Dreams back on the PS1, and it was lighthearted. It wasn't something I constantly did because it's the same type of dialogue. It seems like a thing for Haruka from what I've seen from the screenshots, and I think it's part of her becoming an idol, making people laugh, so interesting to see what this happens. Of course, if they kind of expand it with Akiyama being a more adult, more adult humor, I reckon it'd be fantastic. Because I'd see like Kazuma and Seijima just go on, huh?
Yeah, I can't picture Kazuma trying to tell jokes.
It probably would be funny, but it'd come off as really serious, so definitely that for Akiyama and Haruka. I think it's mainly going to be Haruka. Next one, a big thing that's been a part of the series. You eat a lot of it, you actually get to make it now, and that's noodle making or ramen making. Really interested. I saw the screenshots and the bit of the trailer. It's like, hey, that looks pretty good. I definitely think it's going to be, if they want to focus more rules of how to work, is getting the ingredients, cutting them right, and having a time factor, because you've got a lot of people there that probably want to eat ramen, so you've got to pump them out as quick as you can. So I could definitely see someone like Kazuma, because I know Kazuma cooks and all that in the past games, so interested to see that. Batting cage, that's a series staple. The only difference I see, I don't know if it's been in previous games, but there have been some erotic pictures of models, and if you hit the ball on the batting screen, it opens up a new part of the image. So it's, I don't know, minor fan service, even though there's a lot of fan service, both good and bad, but that's one of them. Driving the golf range. This is something that's been in the Yakuza series before. Back when you played on 3, you had to actually play golf with one of the politicians, so that was pretty cool, but having golf there. If you like golf, it's there. Next, my favorite favorite sport in real life is 10-pin bowling. And bowling's back. And I like it, but to be perfectly honest, I'm a pretty hardcore bowler. Even though I haven't played in a couple of years, I take that sport very seriously because, I don't know, football fans like football. I'm one of those people that likes bowling a lot. And but yeah, I'm really glad bowling's in there. Darts, my favorite minigame of Yakuza 3 and 4. I love darts. I played darts throughout high school, and I seriously think that it's the perfect dart game. The mechanics of how you can control it, it was perfect. I didn't see any fault with it. I know a lot of people say, oh, it's shaky. Well, it's like, well, have you played darts in real life? When it gets really hardcore and the tension rises, you shake. To compose yourself, to get it in the bullseye, you shake. And I thought it showcased that really well. It was realistic in that respect. And just hammering back the right stick, I thought was perfect. So really, really happy that darts is back. Baccarat, good old casino from the other games. You can play some Baccarat, and win some money. Pool, another favorite game of mine, playing snooker, playing pool. I actually can't play pool for shit in real life. I really suck. I either knock the ball up the top of the ball, or I chalk it too much, Yeah, I'm pretty hopeless when it comes to pool, but I'm actually good at Yakuza pool, so glad that's back. Chohan, this was the only minigame that I could not find a translation for. So anyone listening to this knows what Chohan means, please tell us what it is, because I couldn't find any Wikipedia information or anything on it. Fishing, of course, there's been Yakuza games before where you fish. I think there's actually another location, because I remember you fish in Kamurocho, and of course you fish in Okinawa, so I'm guessing you can probably fish in both places.
Whenever I think of fishing, I always think of Breath of Fire. It's always been a pretty consistent minigame in that series.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's probably one of the best fishing minigames of all time, and I've played so many games. There's a fishing game in Trails in the Sky.
Dark Cloud.
Dark Cloud's a big one, of course, Zelda. So it was really good to see this back. And 4 was actually part of a side quest. You actually had to fish something out of the river. So cool to see that again. Okay, a new one, and it's Kuri Kuri, and I'm not too sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but those photo booths in malls where, the teenagers all get together, oh, best friends, and you do the peace signs and you edit that shit? Well, that's what it is. I'm guessing that's going to be for Haruka, because if it's for the other four characters, it'd be taking the piss out of it. It'd probably be something to do on the dates with the Hostess Club models, I think. You go up to...
Yeah, fuck those.
Aww. That's that harmless.
Yeah, but I just don't feel right having Kazuma go around dating hostess women. It just doesn't seem very characteristic of him.
Yeah, I can understand. When Akiyama does it, it fits. And when Tanimura does it, it fits. When Tiger did it, I always said, well, he's been in the slammer for 25 years. Let the man have some conversation with a woman.
Let him have more than just conversation.
No, but I agree with you. It's weird seeing that. It is really weird. I mean, before in Yakuza 1, yeah, with Yumi, yeah, in Yakuza 2, yeah, and in 3, especially not. Especially after what happened in Yakuza 2 and the start of Yakuza 3. It's more catered to the gameplay, more to the consideration of the story, so I can understand your frustration with that.
Right.
Yeah. Whatever happens. An old favorite with another version is Box Celios. I like it. I'm not big on shmups, but it's a very mini game with all these shiny ships, and you have to shoot these creatures that resemble stingrays.
I am fucking terrible at shmups.
Yeah. Did you give it a go in the other games?
No, didn't even get near them.
I did. I played for a bit, and I might play it again, so I don't mind it. You play it in the Sega Club again. Now, I want to talk about the biggest surprise and the best minigame that they're going to offer in Yakuza 5. And I've said years ago, if they did this, I would have tears of joy. And I've wanted them to have a retro arcade. Now, it's not a retro arcade, but it's the first step. Ladies and gentlemen, you can actually play Virtua Fighter 2 in Yakuza 5.
Whoa.
Which is, oh my god, that is awesome. I love Virtua Fighter, but you actually having the Yakuza characters play Virtua Fighter 2. And I've seen screenshots. You actually have the black border of the arcade cabinet and the arcade screen. And I'm like, this is awesome. This is breaking the fourth wall. I love it when people break the fourth wall. You're playing a game inside a game made by Sega. I know they did that with Shenmue, but it's so awesome to see it happen in Yakuza. And I hope that they announce more old Sega arcade games to be played, and I hope it happens. Like, I want to see Kazuma play Space Harrier. Or Afterburner or something like that. And be like, oh. Or, having Saijo Tiger play Golden Axe or something like that. It'd just be awesome, and just the next step they should take, and just for the hardcore Sega fan base to go, oh my god! Because anything like that will make Sega fans happy. I know I'm one of them, so to see Virtua Fighter 2 in there is awesome. I can't wait to play and see how it plays out. I hope it's not a nerf version. I hope it is the arcade version of Virtua Fighter 2 in Yakuza 2. We can play as all the characters. I hope there's a trophy for it. So, definitely think that's awesome. Now, next minigame. This is really cool. My favorite game of all time is Suikoden. Suikoden has a very addictive gambling game where you use 3 dice. And you won some mad money from playing that game. Well, they put it in Yakuza 5. So I'm going to be... I think it was in Yakuza 4, but I wasn't sure how they pronounced it. But it's pronounced Chinchorium. And that's how it's pronounced in Suikoden. So one of my favorite gambling games of all time is in Yakuza 5. Very, very cool. Shogi, that's a Japanese version of chess. That's been in the other Yakuza games, so... Roulette, another good old casino favorite. Here's a fun one. Snowball fighting.
Ooh.
And I'm like, well, it'd probably work for Haruka, but if those 4 got a snowball and they did a heat move, I think they'd just melt. And like, whoa, but I've actually seen it in action. I reckon it's going to be fun, just owning people with a big ball of ice.
Imagine Kazuma chucking around snowballs.
I think it's more focused towards Shimada being the baseball player. He'd be hurling that shit with baseball. So I can see him doing that in the snow. Mahjong. Always a big favorite. Got taken out of 3 and got a shit ton of backlash for doing so. I like Mahjong even though it's very complicated. I've played it in so many other games. I've played it in real life. Yeah. Next one. Rickshaw pulling. If anyone doesn't know what a rickshaw is, it's actually the old taxi cabs. Instead of being a car, it's the wooden sort of bamboo cart with the 2 handles and the 2 major wagon wheels. Like you see it in Japan and China. So one of the games is you get to pull them around. Next one. Some kind of fighting minigame. There's not too much about it. I think it might be the Colosseum again. Hanafuda, that's a card game. I'm not too sure about that, but I know Nintendo made Hanafuda cards before they made games. The other one is Ochikabu, another card game I'm not too sure about. You can actually have taxi races. I know driving the taxi is one of Kazuma's biggest parts of Yakuza 5, but you can probably take a break from doing them in the main story and probably beat a certain time. I would laugh my guts out if it's a different version of Crazy Taxi. Except for Kazuma Kiryu, which I think would be awesome. Of course, karaoke is back, and you can do dance battles on the side. Now, they're the ones that was officially listed. There was another one that was announced ages ago, and that is a in-game version of Taiko Drum Master, or Taiko Tetsujin, which is a drum simulator. And it's a very popular drum simulator. I'm very happy that it's made its way to Yakuza 5 because this is a funny story, is I've been dying to play a real version of Taiko no Tetsujin for a very long time. I love drums. I love any form of drums. And Taiko drums are the big-ass drums where you don't get a drumstick, you get a club. And you beat the shit out of it, and it's so good. I see it all the time, I'm very envious. So, and I haven't had much luck trying to find one in real life. Probably when I go to Japan, I'll definitely get to try it out. But through the meanwhile, this is really cool. It's a nice cross-promotion, as well as you can go to the UFO machines and you have the little Taiko drum mascot that you can win from the machine. So that's really, really, really cool. And that's it for the list so far. Shintai, what's the ones that stand out for you?
Snowballs!
Snowballs. Oh, what would you like to see in the snowball fight? You know, like if you win, what would it give you?
That's hard to say. I mean, what really can you say about snowball fighting and getting something out of that? Um, I'm not really like thinking about what I would get out of it. Really, I just think it'd be hilarious to see grown men playing snowball fighting.
Yeah, cold resistance, face power. I don't know, but yeah, I personally, for me, having Virtual Fighter 2 breaks the fourth wall. I love it so much. I can't wait to play that. And Cheech Torin, I don't think you can you can abuse it to make millions of dollars like you could in Suikoden, but it'd be nice. So definitely those two, and having Taiko Tatsujin, you know, it's really cool. Just this list of games, just so incredible, and I can't wait to play it. But I actually did miss one I want to talk about, and I actually think it's one of the best parts of the trailer. It's a mini game. I think it's for Saejima Tiger. It's hunting.
Oh yeah.
He's fighting the big ass grizzly bear, and he's got a shotgun. And the thing is I got a feeling of, I don't know why I want to say Dark Souls. It's just that foreboding feeling, of a Monster Hunter cross between Dark Souls, because you're in this snowy forest and there's nothing but tiger and this giant bear, and it's so dark and snowy and misty. It's like not a place you want to end up with. And you see him like shoot the bear in the face, and I think there's one part where he just threw away the gun and started charging the bear, which is more respectable for Yakuza and more faithful in the fact that you've had Kazuma Kiryu in a previous game fight a tiger. So yeah, the dragon fights the tiger, but the tiger fights the bear. Really, really, really cool. I definitely want to see that happening, and there could be more mini games, which is just insane. If nothing else, Yakuza is a series that you can buy, and when you finish the story, you can just have fun playing all these mini games. It has more mini games than those compilation shovelware for the Wii, and they're more fun. So definitely. So yeah, tell us what's your thoughts, listeners. What's your favorite mini game? The ones I mentioned. What's a mini game that hasn't been mentioned that you would love to see in Yakuza? I'm sure there's ideas. I know most of the listeners would probably be saying Sega arcade games that needs to be present. I can understand that. So awesome that they've taken the time out to just put so much into it. Now, before we end the discussion of Yakuza 4, I want to talk about just a brief story bit, because there hasn't been much on the way of story. I've already talked about Shimada and his dealings with the Yakuza. Akiyama hasn't had too much, but he does, from what I've seen so far, he has some meetings with Haruka. Haruka's gone out from the orphanage to pursue the life of an idol. Kazuma becomes a taxi cab driver. I know I'm really interested on why Saejima Tiger's back in jail, because I don't want to say why it's a big point of the end of Yakuza 4, but why he's back in jail. But one of the big things of Yakuza 5 is, in previous game, in Yakuza 2, where you were against the Omi Alliance, and you signed a peace treaty, a pact. Now, the head of the Omi clan dies in Yakuza 5, and that leads to tensions with the Tojo clan and the Omi Alliance. So fans of Yakuza 2, it's sort of a continuation of that. I'm really excited. I love 2 so much. I want to know how this snowballs, and you got me saying snowballs. Can't get off snowballing. Unfortunately, I can never snowball in Australia.
Hey, I can't snowball in South Florida.
Yeah, that's true as well, so... Yeah. Tell us, dear viewers, can you snowball? Did I just say viewers then?
Yeah.
I did, didn't I? No, listen. That is like 101, the biggest mistake of podcasting. But technically you can view it on YouTube, it's just the tagline, and I am getting off the subject once again. But that's what Rpgibberish does best.
We gibber.
Jabber jabber. Anyway, very cool that they're kind of taking a big piece out of Yakuza 2. That's mainly because Osaka is present in Yakuza 5 because you've got Kamurocho in Tokyo, Sudenbori in Osaka, and then the other 3 towns you've got Nagoya, Fukuoka, and Sapporo. One on the western end of Japan and one on the northern tip near Hokkaido. So I'm very, very interested to see how faithful they are to the environments of each city, and if anyone can pick the game up and go, oh, I know that place, or where they're trying to allude to, because the thing about Kamurocho is it's a make-believe version of Kabukicho, which is the red light district of Tokyo. So I'm very interested to see how this happens. Not too much in the way of story besides what I've told you before. And I guess that's a good thing because when we get the game, we'll see for ourselves how things have happened. It just seems odd to me how Haruka left the orphanage to become an idol and Kazuma left the orphanage to become a taxi cab driver. They don't explain that much. One of the articles I've read is the taxi cab owner found Kazuma drunk and on the street, and that scratched my head going, wow, some serious shit had to happen for that to occur, you know?
Yeah, because at the end of 4, we're not going to say what, but to those who have beaten 4 and know what we're talking about, it's alluded in 4 that, something very good happens to Kazuma, and he should be in a position of power. So, for him to be drunk and on the streets? What?
Really, really, really interested in finding how that occurred. You know, whether it's a facade to, blend himself to get information from the rival clans or whatever. You know, what brings these characters together? Because I'm going to say this now. 4 had a great reception. The fact it had multiple characters was the most endearing part of that game and why people consider it their favorite Yakuza game. Obviously, the creators knew this and decided to continue it with Yakuza 5 and to a lesser extent, Black Panther 2 on the PSP. So, I personally love it. I know it takes away the grand adventure of Kazuma Kiryu, but I love games that focus on an ensemble of characters. And 4 did that so well, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it works out in 5. And hopefully our fears of Haruka's part of the storyline, are not met. That she can surprise us. But yeah, and I think that will wrap up the Yakuza discussion. Shintai, final thoughts on Yakuza 5 and what you hope it to be, and hopefully if we get it to begin with.
Yeah, the most important thing is that the game is in English. We can play, even if we don't get a hard copy. I hope that we can just play the damn thing. I'm really looking forward to the game. Like you, I do have some reservations, mostly centering around Haruka. But other than that, the game does sound great. Graphically, it actually does look like, not a huge step up, but it does look, marginally better than 4 did. And I'm looking forward to what new additions are going to be in the battle system. I'm looking forward to seeing how they decide to handle the multiple character thing in this game. Whether they're going to do the same thing they did in 4 or if they're going to handle it a different way. Overall, I'm really excited for 5. I can't wait for it. They're throwing all this stuff at us that we, are just like, whoa, how did this happen? Because, after the end of 4, you would think things would go differently. And, kudos to the writers for still keeping us interested and not doing the predictable thing. So definitely, I'm just ecstatic for 5.
One thing we've got to mention in this conversation, for all of you hardcore sadists out there, Majima's still there. And I want to know as well, because so many people are alluding to that he's going to be like, if the series ever ends, he's going to be the one with the hand in all the cookie jars, as our good friend Muruguru would say. I don't know. He's got a sadistic, friendly rivalry to Kazuma. And if he didn't wanting to beat the crap out of Kazuma, we think something's wrong with him. It's a part of the series.
Part of who he is.
Yeah, so definitely, hopefully, because I've seen the part in the trailer, he's definitely got some part. Like, he's usually got something towards the proceedings, so I'm looking forward to it. And including another character I don't want to allude to in the Tojo clan that shocked the shit out of me in Yakuza 4. I did not see that coming. And now I've got my eye on him every step of the way. Whether he's going to redeem himself or he's going to continue on this path.
I wouldn't necessarily say this character is a bad person, but he has made some questionable decisions.
Especially in 4. I did not think he'd do that. So I can understand why, but at the same time, wow. But anyway, that's it, dear listeners. I'm really looking forward to it. It's probably one of my favorite games showcased at TGS. It wasn't the biggest surprise, but I found it consoling knowing the game is good, minus the things surrounding Haruka. But hopefully, our fears are not met, and it's come out at least presentable and ties into the game somewhat. So that's it for now. Hopefully you can join us in a minute for the main discussion of TGS, where we talk about all the RPGs announced at the show.